खलीफा के लबों से जो गुलो जौहर बिखरते हैं,
खलीफा के लबों से जो गुलो जौहर बिखरते हैं,
बड़े अनमोल मोती है ये दौलत हम संभालेंगे।
बड़े अनमोल मोती हैं ये दौलत हम संभालेंगे।
Without further ado, I think we'll get the show going. We'll go to Takreem. So Takreem, if you can share the presentation, and then you can just quickly give us an update or just a short summary of what Huzur said today in his Friday sermon.
All right,
Jazakallah. You got it with you, yeah?
yeah, I need to share my screen. Wait, can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. So, Hazur narrated about Muslim Maud Day, that February the 40th is commemorated in Jamaat as the day of the prophecy of Muslim Maud. This was a detailed prophecy given to the Prophet Messiah alayhi salam about a promised son that would be granted to him. In one part of this prophecy, Allah stated about the promised son that he will be filled with secular and spiritual knowledge and will be extremely intelligent and understanding. Today, I will narrate a few things about this topic from the early years of Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu. Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu only went to school till the 5th year. Despite this, Allah had blessed him with so much knowledge and wisdom that it cannot be explained. He was granted understanding about every aspect of life. Once he spoke about Tawheed, the oneness of Allah, at the age of 17 years. Hazrat Khalifa Masih I greatly praised this speech that he presented many new aspects. He authored a remarkable essay on the topic of love of God at the age of 18 years. This has also been published in book form. Reading this, one understands how Allah had filled him with knowledge and understanding even in his youth. He stated that God has created man for the purpose of love. The object of his life is to immerse himself in God's love. We must have love of God in order to stay away from sins and to heighten our status. God is one, but the concept of God differs in religions. Explaining the teachings of God of Islam, Hazrat Muslim Maud demonstrated how Islam presents the true notion of God which can attract man's love. Hazrat Muslim Maud delivered a lecture about remembrance of God in the Jalsa Salana of 1916 at an age of 27. He talked about the so-called Sufis of this age and how they are far from achieving true nearness of God. He explained that remembrance of God is of 4 types. The first, Salat; second, Quran; third, remembering God's attributes in seclusion; and the fourth, pronouncing God's attributes publicly. An interesting incident took place during this lecture. A non-Ahmadi Sufi wrote a note to Hazrat Muslim Maud that the points you have mentioned in your lecture. The Sufis usually give one such point to the followers after 10 years of service. How unfortunate is it that you have narrated all these points in one gathering? In 1919, Hazrat Muslim Maud delivered a lecture titled Outset of Dissension in Islam. He stated that the basis of infighting in Islam took place 15 years after the death of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. This gives an opportunity to the enemies of Islam to make allegations and puts the followers and admirers of Islam in deep anguish. He stated that there are very few individuals who have delved deeper into the history of Islam and have reached accurate conclusions. He stated that this concept is absolutely false, that the cause of infighting and dissent were some of the senior companions of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. He talked about the plots of Abdullah bin Sabah, the true strategist behind this fitna. Another lecture of Hazrat Muslim Maud is about the decree of Allah. This is an extremely complicated issue to explain. He states that I pray to God that if this is difficult to deliver, then inform me. However, I was told by Allah that I should deliver a lecture on this topic, and it will be very beneficial for you to listen to it and understand it. Hazrat Khalifah Masih IV Rahmatullah alayhi once said about this lecture that a manner in which Hazrat Muslim Maud explained this difficult topic in a gathering which had all kinds of people, only he could have done that. This lecture is a masterpiece of Islamic literature. Hazrat Khalifah Masih Eidullah bin Aziz also mentioned other books and lectures, such as Turkish Treaty and Responsibilities of Muslims, Angels of God, Need of Religion, Proofs of God, A Gift to Prince Wales, Ahmadiyya, The True Islam, etc. Huzur stated that these are some highlights from the age of 17 to 35. His deep, unending knowledge and wisdom is a proof of the truthfulness of the promised Messiah salam, and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Many of these books have been published. Members of Jamaat should study them as much as possible. May Allah always continue to elevate the station and rank of Hazrat Muslim anhu. Hazrat Khalifah Masih Eidullah bin Aziz urged prayers for the Ahmadis of Pakistan. So this was a brief.
A brief summary of
this was a brief summary of yesterday or today's Friday sermon.
Today, mate.
Wow.
Appreciate it. Well done, mashallah. So yeah, you heard it here first, mashallah, the summary of Friday's sermon. Every week we try to bring someone new to say the sermon, and it just helps you concentrate that a little bit more when you know it's your turn to do it. Taklim, did you learn anything new? Maybe, well, there's a lot of things that was said actually today, but was there one thing that in particular that stood out for you while you were reading that or listening?
Yeah, it was probably like lectures he made at such a young age. Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's true. Muslim Rizwan has actually compiled all of his books, which aren't even all translated. Actually, there's so many things which we still need to find out. But a compilation called Anwar-e-Ulum, which could be translated roughly as, the lights of knowledge, and this is where beloved Huzur is actually, he's getting a lot of his information from when he does deliver Friday sermons, which we haven't, a lot of us haven't even set our eyes onto those. But yeah, like you said, at such a young age, he was writing all of these things. When he was 16, he received his first revelation, so he was very young. But apart from that, guys, I just wanted to show you as well, because on the topic, because we're celebrating Muslim All Day tomorrow. Inshallah, we're doing as a region tomorrow, inshallah. You must have seen his book all the time. I just picked up from behind you just now before the class started. It's called Fazl Omar. And it's such an incredible book, and there's no better time to actually read it. But just in one of the extracts, as you know, as a Muslim, he started Khudam al-Ahmadiyya as an organization within the Jamaat, which gave structure to the Jamaat as well. But there was one thing which I wanted to read just upon that, and when he did establish Khudam al-Ahmadiyya, which is really, really important to note. When the first thing he said was advising men between the ages of 15 and 40 years of age. He stated that, I am reminding Khudam al-Ahmadiyya that they should set such a high example that the spirit of Islam is kept alive generation after generation. Islam in itself is a complete faith. However, even the most flavorsome juice needs a glass. Similarly, the soul of Islam requires a glass in order to spread to it others. Our Khudam al-Ahmadiyya are those glasses in which the spirit of Islam will be kept intact, and through them it will be passed on to others. And one more thing which he said, which was really relatable and quite beautiful as well, actually, was on the hard work, perseverance, and sacrifice that we should have all inside of us. He said that today I am reminding the young men of the community that they ought to develop the habit of hard work and sacrifice, and they must impress it upon their minds that their nation will never progress until its elite, as well as its common people, are in the habit of hard work and sacrifice. In the world, difficulties and trials appear in many different shapes and forms, but the response to all of them can only be the same, and that is to overcome these difficulties with perseverance and courage. However, this spirit is only created when the youth respond accordingly after understanding their responsibilities, i.e., the greater the responsibilities, the harder they should work. So this is when the very onset of when Khuddam al-Ahmadiyya was established, and he outlined our mission and our goals as Khuddam. This beautiful example of us being the glass, holding all of the beautiful fruits of the juice of the Jamaat, really makes us understand our responsibility that we need to be the ones who are carrying all of this to the rest of the world and to our generations afterwards as well. So that's why we can't be lazy. We can't be sitting down and doing nothing. We need to be the ones who are proactive within the Jamaat, and making the Jamaat continue in our life and in the lives of our children as well. So this is why we should all try to read this book, guys. It's so interesting. You pick out a few chapters, and you can really understand, this great man, such an incredible personage within our Jamaat, who was, second in line, you can say, in terms of being promised to the world. The first was Hazrat Masih Maud, and the second one was Hazrat Muslim Maud, who a prophecy was given to him, which we're going to learn a lot about tomorrow, I'm sure. I think there's a national event tomorrow and a regional event, so try to take part in both of them as well. So you go. I actually wanted to revolve today's class around that as well, as much as I could. So it's good, beloved Azur actually started off, and there's no better way to start talking about the Muslim than through the words of Hazur.